Hello everyone, a very good morning, good evening to all of you. Welcome to Tathastu ICS and I am your current affairs faculty here. Today is 10th of February 2025 and I am going to take your DNA session. Okay, so this is the front page of your Hindu newspaper. There is not much important news on your front page today. Second, this is a QR code for your Telegram channel from where you can access the PDF files of these DNA session. So let's see which news are important today and we are going to cover. These are the new courses which are starting at Tathastu ICS. If any one of you are interested in the details, you can drop a message also and you can contact the institution as such. Okay. Then these are the news which we are going to cover today. The first is how has the budget allocated funds for the urban development. So this is a news, just give me a second. This is an article in your Hindu newspaper which is actually dealing with how has the budget justified the urban development this time or not. So the article is talking about the budget. We all know that budget was there on the 1st of February last week, and now budget has made so many announcements. So out of these announcements, which announcements are in benefits of urban development? Is it justifying it or not? So according to the article, it is not justifying, and article is going to give us a way forward as well. So there is an assessment of budget the article is going to tell us about the status of urban development in this time's budget. So we are going to discuss that. The second article is related to the nuclear liability law. We all know that in our country, the kind of nuclear liability, what is the meaning of liability law and the nuclear, you can understand that it is related to nuclear power plant or nuclear energy or handling of nuclear energy in any way. And liability means if there is any kind of mishappening when it comes to, for example, we all know about the Fukushima nuclear disaster. So in such kind of situations, when there is some kind of accident, then who has the liability? Who is going to pay? Who is going to give the compensation to those people who are going to suffer in such kind of tragedies? Because nuclear tragedies will always be, big tragedies. So who is going to do that? So there are two opinion. One say that the person who has actually installed the nuclear plant has the liability, and the another viewpoint is that no, it is not the supplier who is supplying the nuclear material or the power plant in itself. For example, we are actually importing these Kundunkulam nuclear power plants from Russia. So is it the responsibility of Russia if there is any kind of mishappening, or it is the responsibility of later people who are going to manage that nuclear power plant, right? So we are going to understand what nuclear law, what Indian laws are saying, and why Indian laws are actually discouraging the investment into the nuclear technology in our country. Because since 2008 we have this civil nuclear deal with USA, but we could not utilize our civil nuclear deal. So what is the solution of that? Okay, so we are going to understand that. Then the third news is related to the relocation of cheetah. There is a news. Okay, here there is a reintroduction of cheetah in the Gandhi Sagar wildlife sanctuary, that is again in Madhya Pradesh. Before that, we all know that the cheetahs were reintroduced in Kuno National Park. Cheetahs are reintroduced from Africa. Okay, Africa. So in Kuno, we have seen so many. Namibia is a country in the southern part of Africa, from where we have actually translocated these cheetahs into Kuno National Park. Now this time in Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary, that is again in Madhya Pradesh. So we are getting cheetahs, reintroducing cheetahs from the South Africa to India. So let's see how the plan is going to work. Then the next news is related to the AI Action Summit. Right, I think tomorrow, day after tomorrow, AI Action Summit is going to be held in the Paris. So India is also going to, attend the AI Action Summit. Now, this article is actually dealing with what are the India's opportunities when it comes to artificial intelligence. How India can leverage this particular summit to raise its voice when it comes to AI. So we all know that AI is a kind of technology where we are not that much, you know, great as compared to the Western countries. So it is about the transfer of technology also. So how we are going to transfer the technology? Should the developed world give the technology free of cost to the developing world? So now we need to have a global or international framework when it comes to artificial intelligence, because everyone should gain the benefit of artificial intelligence. So this is how we can utilize in our social sector. For example, AI related to health, AI related to education, AI related to the other social sector. We need to make such kind of invention in AI free of cost for the whole of the world. So this is what India's opinion is, that how we are going to benefit by such kind of opinion which we are having right now, that AI should be free for the, especially the social AI, for the whole of the world, because by doing that we can actually put ourselves as a leader of the global south. Okay, so India as a country can lead in such a way. So this is a very good opportunity for us to raise our opinion, to raise our voice at the international platform related to artificial intelligence action. Okay, so let's start today's discussion. The first article is there on your text and context page, which is talking about how has the budget allocated the funds for the urban development. So this whole article is about urban development. Article is actually going to talk about how much we actually put money, how much money has been put for the urban development, okay, and what kind of funds actually are being what kind of funds states gets from the center when it comes to urban development. So let's understand the article, okay, in a summarized way. So let's understand the story so far. So what is the story here? So the story is related to the in 2015. What happened in 2015? NDA government prioritizing urban development. NDA government. Right now also we have NDA government. That time in 2015, they were actually focusing so much on urban development. Okay, recognizing cities to contribute nearly 67% of GDP. So they were saying that because cities are contributing 67% of India's GDP, so that we need to give more budget allocation to the cities or the urban areas. However, in the vision for a Viksit Bharat, okay, urban issues seems overlooked. Viksit Bharat means this time's budget. They are talking about the budget of 2025, the recent budget. They are saying in the recent budget, the idea of Viksit Bharat, here we actually lack when it comes to the allocation which is being given to the urban areas. So what is there? What are the allocation for the urban areas in this time budget? First of all, the total outlay for urban development only, not the total budget outlay. The total was the 96,777 crore. You need not to remember this data. This data is just to understand that how budget is going to, you know, get down or it's going to rise when it comes to urban development or not. The article is saying that the total outlay was around 96,000 crore. Which is up from the last year. Last year it was around 82,000 crore rupees. Now obviously it is more than the last year's outlay, but we all know that from the last year inflation has also increased. If we are going to count the inflation, then the article is saying that it is not that much it is not that much a rise in the allocation for urban development. Basically, if you are going to account the inflation, the real allocation has declined. Then the revised estimates show only 63,000 crore will be spent, indicating 22.9% underutilization, right? So again, this is the total outlay, but they are saying that in the revised estimate we are going to spend 63,000 crore rupees only, which is very much less from the last year's as well. Again, the biggest loser here is the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. That is the urban part of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So it saw a major cut. So right this year it is only getting 30,170 crore to 13,000. So last year the budget was 30,000 crore, but this year it is only 13,000 crore. So there was a big, decline when it comes to Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So from last year you can say that the total outlay was 82,000. out of which 30,000 crore rupees were allocated to Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana only, and the urban part. What is Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana? Where the government is going to give a house to a poor family. Again, the focus remains on capital intensive projects rather than the employment and sustainable urban development. So the focus is there so that we can increase the capital in the urban area. So we can say that the strategy of the government has remained as it is from the last time. The budget is paying more attention to the capital intensive development, but not the sustainable or the development from the grassroots to the upper level. Now, how has the allocation happened in general? If we talk about the urban development as a whole, how much allocation we are going to get from the center and how it happens? How much we get, first of all. Second, how it happens. So there are different ways. So in 3 ways, the funds from the center comes to the state for the urban development. First is the direct transfer to urban local bodies. We all know that we have urban local bodies which used to get direct transfer from the center, but because in 2017 we abolished this octroi tax, we actually submerged this particular tax into GST. Now it is a part of GST. We all know that when the GST was there, then there are so many taxes which were subsumed into the GST. The octroi tax was also one of that. So because there is no more this tax, so there is less money for urban local body. So according to the data, is a 21% loss for urban local body. Again, you need not to remember these data. Right now you just need to listen and you need to have this concept in your mind that government is actually reducing it, and how urban local body are suffering from the lack of resources because such kind of tax was submerged into the GST. Okay, so this is the only crux you need to remember from here. Despite this, urban local body allocation declined from 26,000 crore to, it was not that much a decline, but again it was a decline of almost 500 crore rupees. Okay, increasing pressure on the citizen through higher taxes. So how urban local bodies are going to manage their funds? So they are going to tax more to the urban people only. So this is the one way how the urban areas are getting funds. Here there is an issue related to that, because now there are not enough tax which urban local body can apply. Other than that, we have centrally sponsored scheme. So through centrally sponsored scheme, the majority of the funds are coming from the centrally sponsored scheme, such as again repeating, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Swachh Bharat Mission, Amrut Smart City Mission. This Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, this time the allocation was cut by 30% as compared to last year. So we have already decreased this part, okay, this part which urban local bodies were getting funds. Here also we have decreased it, okay. So there is less money in this area as well, there is less money here also. Other than that, there is less money here also. Central sector scheme, okay, especially we are getting money here, but this scheme, only metro projects in urban areas are getting money through center sector schemes. Obviously they are getting good money, the metro project in urban areas are getting good money. Here there is not that much a loss of the revenue, but in these two kind of allocation, the urban areas are getting less funds from the government, which you can say that this time's budget has made it. Now what is the next? So article is actually suggesting the solution also. So article is saying that other than that, in this time the budget has urban challenge fund, which is a 10,000 crore. It has been launched. What is this urban challenge fund? It is an ambition 1 lakh crore urban redevelopment plan which relies on the 50% of private investment. Okay, again an over as optimistic target considering weak private participation in the smart city mission. So what is the meaning of that? It means that now the government is saying that right now there is some amount of money government is going to put, that is 10,000 crore rupees, but government is aiming that we are going to make this 10,000 crore to 1 lakh crore investment with the help of the private sector, with the help of the private sector. That if we are going to start a project, some money government has put 10,000 crore. Now government will start a small project. Government is going to invite the private sector to invest in that. If there will be a private party who will be willing to take over that project, then the government is going to put the 50% of money which the private party is going to invest. So this is how they are going to increase it. So this is the plan. So the plan is to take it to 1 lakh crore. But again, the article is saying that it is an over optimistic target, because we all know that we have seen so many articles. Then in our country, the biggest issue is that private investment is actually going down. There is no private investment. That's why government this time, recently the Monetary Policy Committee has cut down the policy rate as well, so that people can take loan from the bank and they can invest it. This is one of the way how they could boost the private investment. So again, we are actually failing to boost the private investment in our country. But this whole plan is based on the investment by the private sector. If there is no private sector investment, the government is also not going to put the 50% portion of the projects. Then how we are going to make this particular fund successful? But again, if we will be able to boost the private investment, then this particular fund can act as a as a boon for our urban development. The second, the urban budget capital intensive approach overlooks employment, okay, green jobs and sustainable economic policies, risking increased urban disparity. So we are putting more money into the capital intensive projects. We are not putting money into the social sector. Means sustainable economic policy means the policies which are going to be sustainable for a longer period of time. We are not giving money in the hands of poor people. What we are doing, we are investing in the areas which is capital intensive. For example, we are going to give money for the smart city mission. For smart city mission, we will give money because it is a capital intensive approach. But again, we are not focusing much on the social security. We are not focusing much on the social security. Okay. So this was all about the article. That what is the crux of the article here? The crux is that this time the budget has not done much justice when it comes to the allocation to the urban development plan. Obviously, we have this urban challenge fund. Now this urban challenge fund is totally dependent on the private investment. So for that we need to boost that. If it will be so, then we can utilize it. Otherwise, we will not be able to raise that much of overestimated target. How capital expenditure affect private sector? Look, capital expenditure can easily affect. It is not going to affect private sector negatively. Okay? It can affect private sector positively only. If we are putting more money, for example, let's talk about smart city mission only. There is a city and we are putting more money in the city, then obviously the new businesses will come and the private sector is going to flourish only. So it is going to impact private sector in a positive way only. Okay, Dipti? Now let's come to our second article. Second article is related to the plan to amend nuclear liability law may enthuse American French firm. So let's see, enthuse means they are going to give them confidence that they can invest in India. So this time the government is saying that we are going to amend the nuclear liability law. So let's see what is the situation right now, so that you can understand it. So what is the news here? News is related to the amendment to unlock the stalled nuclear project. Basically, it is about that how we are going to change our nuclear liability law so that the Western country can invest in India when it comes to nuclear energy. Right now, there is very less investment in nuclear energy in our country given this particular law, okay, this nuclear liability law. So this nuclear liability law is not as per the international conventions. So let's understand what we have right now and what the world wants from us, what the USA and France want from us, and what kind of law we have. Now, article is saying that ahead of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to France and the USA, the Indian government has announced the civil liability amendments to the Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act. So this act was there since 2010, okay, and the Atomic Energy Act 1962. Okay, so they are going to amend it. I will make you understand what kind of amendment we are going to do. This move is expected. Why we are doing that? Because we want more and more investment in our country. First, second, we need to revive our long stalled projects. There were so many projects by the USA and France. They actually started by the USA and France in our country, but because of this particular law, because of this CLNDA 2010, these countries are not going to put more money into it. Why? Because of the liability issue. Who is going to take the liability if there is any kind of accident in nuclear projects? So obviously some people who are investing into our country, the suppliers, they are fearing that if we are going to supply it, what if there is some kind of mishappening because of the operation part? Who is operating the nuclear power plant? For example, an Indian firm is operating the nuclear power plant and a French company is supplying the nuclear, the whole project they are supplying. Maybe they are supplying the nuclear material also, but now there is an accident. Then who will take the liability? Obviously, according to the Indian law, the operator of a plant is not going to take the liability. Who will be liable? The supplier will be the liable for any kind of damage. Obviously, if a French company who was to invest in India when it comes to nuclear energy, because of such law, that company is not going to invest in India anymore. That's why we want to amend this law right now, so that we can, attract the investment into nuclear energy. Now let's understand the liability concern and what are the past controversies related to that. Western nuclear firms have objected to our supplier liability clauses. What is the meaning of supplier liability clauses? Like I just said that the supplier, for example, there is a French company or US company. So they are the supplier. They are going to supply the nuclear technology or nuclear power plant into the India. They don't want any kind of liability. They are saying that why are you putting supplier, okay, at the liability risk? You need to put operation, okay. The people who are going to operate the plant have on a liability front. Why us? So this was the question. So that's why they objected to our this particular law, which contradicts the international standard also, where it is only the plant operators are liable. So according to the international convention, if there is any kind of mishappening in the nuclear power plant, so who is liable? The operator of that plant is liable, not the supplier. But in Indian law, operator is not liable, supplier is liable. That's why no one is coming in our country to invest in nuclear energy. These clauses were introduced in 2012 following the political debate, and at that point of time in the opposition there was a NDA only. So this is the BJP government was there, the alliance, NDA alliance was there in the opposition, and they were opposing. That's why we have come with such kind of clause. But now the same government is trying to amend it. That's a good thing only, okay. There is no need to criticize them right now if they are trying to amend it right now. So why did they do that? Because of the such kind of tragedies. We all know about the Bhopal gas tragedy, Union Carbide disaster. So because of that, they were saying that it was not the operators who should be liable in this case. The international, because the company was not an Indian company, it was a foreigner company, and when it comes to compensation, that company did not give any compensation to the victims of Bhopal gas tragedy. That's why the Indian politicians wanted at that point of time, this complete clause was very much politically motivated. So they were saying why? Because the company was an outside Saudi or a foreign company. Why that foreign company did not pay any compensation to the victims of Bhopal gas tragedy? So they did not want such kind of happening again when it comes to nuclear power plants. So that's why that point of time the opposition, the NDA government, put pressure on the ruling government. Okay, on the basis of that we came up with this this clause in our nuclear liability law. But now we are going to change it because we want to attract investment from foreign countries. Again, such kind of disaster. Now experts like Shyam Saran is saying that the 2012 amendment were very much politically driven. Lekin now it is okay that because we want to facilitate investment, so the government is changing it. So it is totally fine. Now what are the past government stand and what is the current shift here? So in 2015, okay, the US President Barack Obama came to India. Okay, after his visit, Indian government stated that there was no proposal to amend the CLNDA, because we all know that with USA we have a 2008 civil nuclear deal, but it was actually a very great deal. It could change the energy scenario in our country, but because of this particular clause, we could not utilize much of this civil nuclear treaty, because now USA was not willing to invest in our country. When the Barack Obama came to India, then in 2015, the same government was saying no, there was no proposal to amend CLNDA, because they were in favor of the original plan of the act since the start. But now the case is very much different. Now the new government, with the new development, government is looking to finally overcome the legal hurdles, and government finally want to attract the investment, so that we can ensure nuclear energy can play a major role in India's future energy strategy. So this was the case. So that's why we want to amend our this particular law. Okay. So I hope you understood. You just need to remember that there is CLNDA Act. According to that act, the liability is on the supplier and not on the operator. Because of this particular clause, there is very less foreign investment when it comes to nuclear energy in our country. Now government is changing that so that we can attract more investment. So this is the basic crux of this particular article. Now let's come to our next news. What is it? Just give me a second. Actually, it's not loading. Just give me a second. मैडम फाइल अपलोड नहीं हुई है पूरी, अब मैं क्या करूँ? It's okay, actually file was not loaded completely, but it's okay. There are two more news. I will tell you the crux from the front page only. It's totally fine. So our next news is there, but I will upload the full file then. So the third news is related to the reintroduction of the cheetahs. Okay, in our country, we all know that we are reintroducing cheetah from where? From Africa. Okay, from Africa we are introducing. So the first we introduce our cheetah in the Kuno National Park, right? In the Kuno National Park, and here Kuno National Park is also there. Where it is? It is in Madhya Pradesh. So in Madhya Pradesh, if this is the map of Madhya Pradesh, so this is the map of Madhya Pradesh. You can see that here you will have Kuno National Park, and near to that here you have Gandhi Sagar National Park. Gandhi Sagar National Park, wildlife sanctuary, actually wildlife sanctuary. So here we are going to reintroduce the cheetahs from where? Okay, we are going to introduce it from South Africa this time. Okay, South Africa this time. Okay, let me open it. I can open it again. उस फाइल को एक बार फिर से खोलोगे आप? This one. Will hang over. Just open where I was. Okay, I will teach them through that one. This one is okay. I will teach them. So okay, it's so totally fine. So this time we are reintroducing cheetah into the Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary. Earlier we did it in the Kuno National Park. Previously in Kuno National Park we did it from Namibia, but right now we are doing it from South Africa. So now the cheetahs are going to come to India. Why this location is very important? That is the Madhya Pradesh area, because if we look at the prehistorical caves which are there around this particular new wildlife sanctuary, we can see that the images of cheetah. So this area in general was very much, so cheetahs were already there historically. So right now this particular area can be very much suitable for the cheetahs. So first of all, they are going to be very quarantine position. So first they will be quarantine. Quarantines means they are not going to be, have interaction with the outside world. So first we are going to check we need to stabilize them. But after that we are going to reintroduce them into the forest area. So this is how we are going to plan this process. Okay. So this is the only crux you need to remember in this particular article. Okay. Other than that, there is another article which is India's opportunity at AI Action Summit. This article is basically talking about how India can lead when it comes to the summit. This summit is going to happen in the France. That's why in the earlier news also, when I was mentioning that, because the recent visit, our Prime Minister is going to visit France and USA. Before USA, he is going to visit France. So obviously he is going to be there. So again, that was a separate news. But why he is visiting there? He is visiting there to participate in this AI Action Summit. So in AI Action Summit, obviously India will have a chance to put his own ideas it comes to AI, what India at international level can do for the people of the global south or the country of the global south. But we can actually make our case when it comes to the artificial intelligence usage in the social sector. Social sector, basically the health, social sector, the education. So in health, education, here we can actually utilize artificial intelligence in a much better way, and we can actually utilize it to curb the poverty in the global south, right? When it comes to the artificial intelligence for the other kind of gains, or you can say that monetary gains. Okay, the other countries don't want to give us the technology, but when it comes to the health or technology, the other countries need to give technology to the developing world. So this is how India can put its own case in this summit, and how it is going to make us, how can we leverage from such kind of opinion. we can leverage that. By doing that, we can actually put one step forward to become the leader of the global south. So how can we become the leader of the global south? By putting the case of the global south. And we all know that artificial intelligence is very, very important. This time there was a United Nations summit also. In that UN summit, it was decided that there should be an international plan when it comes to artificial intelligence. So what kind of international plan should be there? Along with that, what else should be there when it comes to the artificial intelligence action? What kind of approach India should have? So India needs to make sure that that the world knows about the harmful impact of artificial intelligence also. So that we need to have a proper framework, so that we can, we need to, articulate the harmful impact of AI, and we can make the laws, rules or regulation at the international level according to that only, right? So this is all about this particular article, India's opportunity at the AI Action Summit. First of all, India can act as the leader of the global south there, so that we can put the case of the developing worlds that AI in the health and education should be free of cost. First. The second, how can we leverage from it? By becoming the leader. Third, we can put this case in front of the world that the harmful effect of AI should also be taken into account. Okay, so this was basically the whole crux of this particular article. There were a few questions because the file is not loading, so it's okay. Tomorrow I will make sure these questions are there in the in tomorrow's or whenever I am going to take your session. So I will put those questions there. Okay, so let's end this discussion. I hope this was all about today's newspaper, and have a nice day. Please do read newspaper also. Newspaper reading along with any kind of analysis is very, very important, especially if you are a beginner. If you are a beginner, you please read your newspaper also. If you are not a beginner, you already know that these are the important, such kind of news are there. Okay, they are coming. You already aware about the things, about the basic concepts. Then you can watch the DNA analysis only, just to save the time. Other than that, do read newspaper. And those who are giving 2025 attempt, please, all the best for you, to all of you, and do study hard. Okay, it is very less time remaining in your final D-Day, and you need to perform there as well. Okay, so thank you so much. Have a very nice day.